Hello again, friends. I've been thinking a lot about how chaotic our world has gotten. And it seems like the truth comes in pieces. We're not living in a world where truth is absent. We are living in a world where truth is fragmented. That distinction matters more than most people realize because it is easier to recognize a lie than it is to recognize a partial truth. A lie can often be exposed with enough time and attention, but a partial truth, something that contains just enough accuracy to feel convincing, that can move through a culture almost undetected. It sounds right. It feels right. It may even look right. It may align with something we already believe, and that is precisely why it works. Scroll through any feed, watch any debate, or listen to opposing sides of a cultural issue, and you will notice something unsettling if you pay close enough attention. Each side often presents information that is not entirely false. In fact, much of it may be factually correct. And yet when you step back, the conclusions drawn from those facts seem to clash in ways that cannot both be fully true. This is where confusion begins, not because truth is missing, but because it has been broken into pieces and distributed selectively. Modern communication does not reward completeness. It rewards clarity of message, speed of delivery, and emotional impact. And the easiest way to achieve all three is not by presenting the whole picture, but by presenting the most compelling part of it. A sound clip or a video is clipped to highlight a single moment without what came before or after. It's pulled completely out of context. Data is selected to support a conclusion while omitting variables that would complicate it. A story is framed in a way that guides the audience toward a specific interpretation before they have the chance to ask questions. This is not always done maliciously. Sometimes it is simply the byproduct of a system that prioritizes engagement over depth. But intentional or not, the result is the same. We are consistently presented with fragments of reality and asked to treat them as the whole. Over time, this shapes how we think. We begin to build our understanding of the world from incomplete information, filling in the gaps with assumptions, biases, or whatever narrative we have encountered most often. And because those fragments often contain elements of truth, we feel justified in the conclusions that we reach. But justification is not the same as accuracy. So this is the tension at the center of so many modern conflicts. It is not always truth versus lies. It is partial truth versus partial truth. One side presents a set of facts that highlight one dimension of an issue. The other side presents a different set of facts that highlight another. Each side builds a narrative around their selected information, reinforce it with language, emotion, and repetition. And from within each narrative, the conclusion feels not only reasonable, but obvious. This is why conversations so often break down, not because people are unwilling to think, but because they are reasoning from different fragments of the same reality. Each person is holding a piece and mistaking it for the whole. When that happens, disagreement begins to feel like denial. If the piece you are holding feels complete, then anyone who challenges it must seem either uninformed or intentionally dismissive. But what if they are simply holding a different piece? When we accept fragments of truth, when we accept fragments of full truth, we lose something essential. We lose depth. We lose nuance. We lose the ability to see complexity without feeling threatened by it. And perhaps most significantly, we lose the capacity for meaningful conversation. Because if each person is defending a partial truth as if it were complete, there's no room left for integration. The goal becomes winning rather than understanding. The conversation shifts from exploration to opposition. This is how division grows, not always from deception, but from incompleteness. And in a culture already primed for reaction, fragmented truth becomes fuel. It allows each side to feel justified while simultaneously deepening the distance between them. A Logitarian seeks the whole. A Logitarian refuses to settle for fragments. To seek the whole is not to assume that you will always find a perfect, complete picture. It is to commit to looking beyond what is immediately present. It is to recognize that what you are seeing may be accurate, but still incomplete. This requires a shift in posture. Instead of asking, "Is this true?" the question becomes, "Is this the whole truth?" Instead of reacting to what is shown, you begin to look for what is missing. You learn to notice what is not being said, what context has been removed, what perspectives have been excluded, and what assumptions are being made for you. This does not make you cynical. It makes you discerning. Because seeking the whole is not about distrusting everything. It's about understanding that reality is often more layered than it first appears. One of the most simplest and most powerful questions you can ask in today's climate is this: what is not being shown? It sounds almost too simple, but it cuts through more confusion than most people expect. When you encounter a viral clip, ask what happened before the moment you are seeing. When you read a statistic, ask what variables might influence it. When you hear a strong claim, ask what counterpoints exist that were not included. And questioning like that creates space. It interrupts the automatic acceptance of a narrative and invites a deeper examination of the information in front of you. It slows down your thinking just enough to prevent you from building conclusions on an incomplete foundation. And over time, it changes how you engage with everything. You become less reactive, not because you care less, but because you understand more. Seeking the whole is not always comfortable. It often introduces complexity where simplicity would feel easier. It may challenge conclusions you have already formed or require you to hold tension longer than you would prefer. It asks you to remain open when it would be easier to close the question. But this is where clarity begins to build. Because truth, when approached fully, can withstand examination. It does not require selective framing to remain intact. It does not collapse under context. It expands. And when you begin to approach the world this way, something shifts internally. You become less certain in the shallow sense, but more grounded in a deeper one. Your understanding becomes less rigid, but more resilient. You stop needing quick answers and start valuing accurate ones. And that changes the way you move through every conversation. We are Logitarians. A Logitarian does not mistake a fragment for the whole. They look deeper. They question what is presented. They seek what is missing. And in doing so, they move beyond surface level understanding into something more complete, something more honest, something more true. We are Logitarians. We seek the whole. We resist the fragment. We live in clarity.